Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Black Nerd Fridays, where you got three, well now today just two, but black nerds that come together to talk about everything nerdy, whether it's animated, written, or live action. And as you can see for today, you've got myself, KinkySudz, or as I like to call myself, Cosplay Queen on a Budget, and we've got the amazing Beer Talk now. How you
Thank you.
doing
Thank you.
today?
Thank you. Thank you for the humbling introduction. I'm good. What up, world? You know how I get down.
I know. I was gonna say. So today we are going to be talking about Krampus. Krampus,
Krampus.
as I like to call the demonic Santa Claus. Okay,
Wow.
this
Wasn't
is
even
like,
going demonic. Come on.
yeah, he is. Well, we'll get into it with him. But I just really like this movie because it was rated R. It came out in 2015, and you can watch this on Apple TV or Prime. But this movie was just a trip because typically when you think about Christmas is very jovial. It's about the Christmas spirit or love stories. But this was like, nah, we going straight for just straight up. You lost your Christmas spirit. This is what happened. So I really
Mm.
liked this movie. I thought it was great, and it's a different type of Christmas movie. But before we get into the questions that we always get into, we have to first talk about what
Craft
beer.
beer. Come on. You
so
know it. What up, son?
I'm gonna go with you, sir. Tell me, what are
What
you
up, though? What up,
drinking
world? You know, man.
today?
Shout out to Phil Emerson, head brewer over there at Almanac Beer Co. out here in Alameda, California. Had a wonderful episode with him. It's already
Yes.
out. Check it out. You already know Beer Talk now. How we
Yes.
get down. So I wanted to bring this one out, and I held this for the end of the week. This is their Admiral Malting single malt barley aged wine. Okay, and St. George Spirit single malt whiskey barrel, and this is 13%. Look at that's a beautiful can. I like simplicity,
Ooh,
but if you look at the back, you got a lot of the actual tree itself that branches out there
nice.
like that. Kind of reminded me of Berserk.
Nice.
Berserk when Griff had the
It
world with the
does.
world
It
tree. Yeah,
it does.
you know how
It
that goes.
does.
After he utilized that what was that damn goblin giant to forge it. And then also I have their nine, and that's 13%. This one is their 9%. It's called their the Boost Coffee Stout. Again, they use coffee for this one, 9%. But again,
Nice.
with the vanilla, just makes you drink like you're drinking like a nice coffee with canned milk or something of that nature. But I enjoy this one. Definitely wake you up, but keep you mellow at the same time. And then this one just kind of ties into the theme. But I'm glad I had one
Ooh,
more of it. It's the Rocktoberfest. But if you look at that pumpkin, that really just kind of reminds you of that good old Krampus life, and you can kind of
it does.
see how that's
It
going
does.
right there. And
Well,
this is
that's
just
nice.
yeah, this whole set, especially that picture right there, it just really reminds you kind of like how
I love that.
Krampus was looking. So that's 5%. That's just something simple. But you know how I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start off with 13 as usual.
I'm
We
just saying
get
you
there.
gotta start off with that high ABV.
Come
What you
on, you
gonna
got
do?
to, you got to. And, and until and if Mr. Refine don't hop on, I'm gonna just go ahead and start and pour off with his glass. Shout out to Mr. Refine. They did his
Yes.
holiday specials. I don't have a holiday
Yes.
glass, but get that one.
So while
And I
you
always got the
pouring,
trusty dusty
I
notebook.
was gonna say you got the notebook today. So while you pouring, I'm gonna talk about what I got. So this here, I went with it a little bit. And all this messed up you can't see because there's a lot of greenness on here. But it's an oak spire. It's from New Belgium. It's an old fashioned bourbon barrel ale, 9%. I went with this because the smell on this is just so good. And I've had this before, but bourbon I think is just really relaxing. It has that type of feel when you're sitting by the fire. You're just enjoying the Christmas time and stuff like that. And so I went on ahead and already poured it up because you know me, I can't wait too much longer. But it's funny because I got a green screen behind me. You can't see what this says, but it says beer selfie. But I
Mm,
mean, look at the color of that beer, though. Let's just get into that. That's just
yeah.
such a pretty color, kind of the red color that goes along with Christmas. But I really wanted this because I think this would probably be really good, cold or warm. I've had it both ways, and I think it's just a really great beer, really easy to drink. But I'm always a big fan of bourbon or anything that's any type of barrel coat. So I always get excited about those. But that's what I'm drinking for today. There's another beer I might get into, but it depends on how this does me because sometimes this hits and sometimes it doesn't. So
I go for all three. One's 13, which I'm only drinking some of it. Got to share with the family. The
right,
other one's 9. I'm gonna probably knock that back because it's
right,
definitely easy drinking. And then the 5% is just it's like water. So you know how it goes.
right. I gotta say 5%, man. You can throw those back and ain't nobody gonna. You're like, oh, this is easy. And it's kind of crazy when you start drinking more of those, right? Like you're like, am I getting any type of buzz? But I really like when you have a high ABV beer. and it doesn't taste boozy. It's just real smooth. And the more you drink it, you start throwing them back, not realizing that hey, it's going to catch up with you. I like
Mm-hmm.
those. I like the creepers. Those are my favorite.
Now,
So
speaking of creepers, Krampus is not one of those. He's a very
he,
vulgar,
I would
overt.
say no, he is straight in your face. So, I mean, when we think about this with Krampus, like I said, I always consider him to be the demonic Santa Claus because he does give you gifts, just not the ones that you want. And I think this is really cool because with Krampus, what I thought was really interesting when I was learning about it, and I posted it up on one of our posts earlier today, is when you look at the story of Krampus, it's not really clear what his origins actually come from. He's in a lot of folklore, but what actually was the beginning of it is not clear. But what's really interesting is that they believe that the feast of Saint Nicholas, which would happen on December 6th, right? Krampus would come in before that, so the night before on December 5th. But sometimes him and Santa Claus would go together to door, to different homes and businesses, kind of doling out what would be the sentence. Were you nice or were you naughty? And I just thought that that was pretty cool that those two were riding together doing a good cop, bad cop type of a thing. But that was just some of the did you know facts I had come across. So, but with that, we always got to start off with our very first question, which is always our favorite. What's your good, bad, and the ugly? So I'm gonna start with you. Tell me, what was your good with this
You already
movie?
know, just the folklore of Krampus and this aspect with Omi. Shout out to Omi, holding it down. But really, I just really like how it didn't veer off. I think a lot of times with rated R movies, especially dealing with spirits, it's always
Yes.
it's not necessarily a feel good ending. It's typically like, but you didn't get rid of me type of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
it always kind of allows certain people to walk away, and I just really enjoyed how this ending ended. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the reality of what Krampus is,
Yes.
and he stick. I mean, not he. The spirit sticks to uh, what what happens when you lose hope, and it shows you that straightforward. I enjoyed it
You
definitely.
know, I know, and I was really shocked with how realistic they kept it because when you think about the movie, like you said, a lot of times these Christmas movies are really feel good, right?
Yep.
But this one was just like, no, we're going to go straight into it. And what I liked about it is that they did a really nice build up in the beginning where you're like, okay, you start to get annoyed with the family, and then it just goes right into it. Like once it starts, it doesn't stop until you
Hmm.
get to the end. So I just thought that the pacing of it was pretty good. I do like the fact that you start to think one thing into something different. But I think it also really did a great job in kind of keeping up the mystery of Krampus. Like we never got a really good look at him, right? We got bits and pieces of him and a little bit of his face, but we never really got a chance to get like a full shot of him. But it was just keeping up the mystery, keeping it kind of spooky, but also just showing him like, of course, he had his helpers, which I thought were pretty cool as well. They were like the complete opposite of Santa's helpers, but I really
Shout out
like
to
that
the
idea.
elves. Shout out
Right,
to
the
the
elves
elves.
were so different. But I do think that I thought that was pretty cool how he had his helpers, he had his way of going into doing things. So I really liked that piece of it. I just thought it was just really well done in that regard. But it's not just a good. So what was your bad for this one?
I'm not gonna lie. It's not really too much bad or ugly that I have. I mean, I'll probably just say, I mean, just the one bad is just the with Beth, and
Oh
just the
yeah.
decisions were what that was made with Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. I probably do got ugly, but I'll stick with Beth's character, not just
Mm.
the character overall, but the certain point in the movie or with Beth's character, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that.
I know, right?
That's
Like
all I'm
I
gonna
was
say.
I was really shocked with that. I'm like, y'all are just gonna let her go off like
Mhm.
that just to try and keep the peace? But okay. For me, the bad for me, I think, was really just a fact of how they do this in a lot of American movies where somebody knows something but they don't say.
Mm.
And you spend a good hour and a half of them not saying anything. You get bits and pieces of it. And then they finally say, well, by the way, it's this. You're like, you could have told us this like earlier in the movie, then maybe we could have done something, but they kept pulling that. So sometimes I hate when they do that. They really dragged it out in this movie, but that would probably be my bad. And I will save my ugly because I think we might be on the same page with an ugly, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
Sometimes you shock me, D.
yeah, I
So what
do.
was
My uglies
see?
vary.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard to have an ugly. I think just the You know what? I'm gonna just say it. I
Just
think
put it
that
out there. Just put it out there.
I think my ugly is that aspect of like, um, even with family, like you have to kind of give a sense of grace to the aspect of your family, even if you don't
Yes.
have, even if they are above and beyond and not dealing with issues, but still just still trying to keep the family together, but not dealing with the truth and not dealing with things that have been really um, festering up for years, and
Yes.
then and just not talking about it and not dealing with it, but just keep bringing people over. I think that's probably one of my biggest uglies because it really just didn't. Nothing was resolved as far as
Oh,
why the family was dealing with the things that they were dealing with, and it
yep.
was more so a lot of insecurities, and also just insecurities on people who were not blood related but were married into the family,
Ooh,
and then that
speak
triggered
on it.
and that lead and that blended into the children and their perception of their family members which are blood related, and it was like
Hmm.
what that perception is not accurate. It's a very skewed perception. So that's probably my biggest ugly is like family not dealing with things that they need to deal with and
Ooh.
really have conversations, and not during the holidays. You know, that needs to be like a this is a year long thing we need to work on, type of
Yeah.
situation.
I got to agree with you. And I think the other thing to kind of build on that is just this idea of just how they kind of drag out in a lot of movies this kind of like friction with families, right? Like I
Mhm.
get it, every family has their issues, just no family's perfect, but I really hate how, and I think they do this a lot. I've seen this a lot in American movies where they have this like festering, issue, this bickering that continues to go on. And it really bothers me because it's like for the majority of the movie. And then because your life is on the line, you guys finally realize, well, this is stupid. Why were we sitting here arguing with each other, right? But like you said, they never really got to the root of why certain people felt the way that they did. They did a little bit with the two sisters, a little
Mm.
bit, but it wasn't enough where they actually had an opportunity to really sit and talk about it, hash it out, and even come together in the end to say, man, we wasted a lot of time. Like they never even got that opportunity. So for me, when they start to play up that whole like friction in the families, I just really get so annoyed. And they really play it up in holiday movies. They do that. Thanksgiving and Christmas is when they do it the most. And I
Oh,
swear it just bothers my soul how much they do it in
they
American
just get,
movies.
hey, that's just non excuse me, issues and things that have just not been dealt with. They have not been rectified. So shout
Yeah.
out to that. And I tell everybody who's on our YouTube, Twitch, Facebook family, definitely got to watch Krampus. It's definitely a good one.
Yes,
And
it is.
honestly, for it to still be either rent or buy, and it's 2015 was the first one came out, that lets you know that that's a quality movie right there. Quality
And
movie.
it's like I said, and it's rated R, which is like really good, right? It's not where they're going to be doing like cutaways. Like you actually get to see some pretty good gory scenes in it, which is what I like. So that's just me. But, talking about the whole friction with the family and how they were bickering, and we know what holiday times, a lot of people are dreading when Thanksgiving comes around, when
Mhm.
Christmas comes around, because it's like, God, I got to go over there. I got to deal with them. And you've seen a lot of posts on Instagram, right? Where they're like, hey, if you're going to get triggered, here are things that you can do. Or if you want to make sure you don't trigger anybody, here are ways you can talk about topics. But I'm just thinking, when you think about Christmas, is it really necessary that you have to be with family? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna say any time for Black folks when you can get together with your family. Yes, because it's a governing type of situation. When I think a lot of times, back to my point earlier, when you do not deal with things that transpire before, then you dread these one or two particular days. But reality is, if you didn't have, and I think a lot of people are like, "Well, I'll never got to see my family." Okay, cool. All of them disappear tomorrow. Let's see how
Yeah.
you feel. Let's see if you miss those things, or better yet, I think what the holidays really shows you is that you just can't wait till the end of the year to have these to have these conversations. Like I'm just gonna
Right.
keep harping on that. You gotta deal with what is bothering you. And if you and it's really for you, it's not for you to be like, you have to see my point. Is at the end of the day, this is what it is. It's how I feel. It's how you feel. This is where either we are working to grow and solve this that'll make us both feel like we're compromising, or we just agree to disagree, but at least we get our points out in a constructive manner, not deconstructive.
Oh, I love that. And I was going to say, the thing for me is it necessary? I mean, like you said, it's good for family to come together, right? Because I mean, there's so much history and events and experiences that you can kind of share and kind of grow together to really build up that bond. Because when you think about it, our society is very individualistic, right? But I think it's nice to be able to come together with family. But I think the biggest thing for me, why I say it may not be necessary, it's just because it depends on what happened in the family, right? So like, a lot of times people, are they may have issues with, like, the family may have issues with who they're dating or their life choices or the career that they have. And it's just going to be this constant nagging that you're getting. I mean, no one wants to go into that type of situation, right? You may even come to the point where you're going, head to head with your folks on just their political views or views or anything, right? Religious views. So I think that is where it comes down to, you have to try and maintain your mental health, and really think, is it really necessary for us to do that? But I do think we need to be a little bit more understanding, like you said, extending grace to each other. But at the same time, some family members you do need to be around. I mean, honestly, it just to protect your mental health. Sometimes you don't need to have them around. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, like I said, I agree too. I think the problem, well, not the problem. I think one of the opportunities is that it's not really about what it is for you. I mean, if you need that space and that time, definitely deal with it. But I think a lot of times people also just don't look at themselves and it's like, what is, if it is you or if it's not you, what are the things that you're doing to either perpetuate it or not deal with it? And I'm not saying you have to always have those conversations, because sometimes you can talk, and it don't matter. You're just talking to a brick wall.
Exactly.
But you have to really say, what is it that you're attempting to get out of it? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to change anybody except yourself if you want to.
I got to agree with you on that. And I think that's the thing, right? Is are people willing to change? That's the biggest thing, I think. And then I think the other thing too is, like you said, depending on the conversations or topics, maybe you might want to reconsider. Because like in this movie, you could tell there was just some bad blood for years between the two. Like the two sisters, they always had this issue of who was better. You had this airiness about you that you thought you were better than me, that I was always making bad choices. But then when you look at her family and you look at her husband, you go, well, maybe I might have to side with the older sister just a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but that doesn't mean that, again, that's the wonderful thing about it. Just because of those choices, it's like, it's not the person that they would have chose for. It's not the route that they would have taken. They thought she was just moving so fast, but she was in a relationship that she wanted to be in at the end of the day. So that's why I think those conversations is like, if you feel inadequate or you feel that there's something off and you need to have those conversations, we all do it. It's just that when you have those conversations, you still have to realize that it's your choice and your decisions. Like,
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. If it is coming down to your choices, I do think, like the aunt, she was a little bit of a nuisance. So
Aunt Dorothy, she wasn't doing nothing out here. But in the end, though, shout out to Aunt Dorothy in the end, though. She was a G.
I mean, but again, it's like at the end, you finally want to do something. Like, you should have been stepping up the whole damn time. But yeah, so I couldn't help but laugh at that when they did that piece. I was like, really? Y'all still want that type of trope? Okay. Now, I think the biggest thing here that they kept pushing with Krampus is that they lost hope. They lost the Christmas spirit. And I think that can really mean a couple of different things, right? But I'm thinking, for you, what do you think having a Christmas spirit actually means?
It was, to me, it was about family. I know that Omi in the movie talked about giving and that spirit of giving and what that truly meant as far as the Christmas holiday. And again, she's coming from, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but being German and having this conversation. I mean, also being German, being Jewish, there was something that was kind of only hit on a little bit. But I really think at the end of the day, it's really just about loving your family, because all the things that happen throughout the entire movie were just like, I hate this family, I don't want to be a part of it, or people are like, it was really the stress of life where people were not looking at what they have and the people around them instead of what is driving them apart, or was pretty much a lot of the struggles and tribulations that you have to go through on a day-to-day when you have to have a family. So I think that was to me what it meant to, like, look at your family for who they are and love them, But every instance was always fighting about something because again, people were not dealing and having a conversation where they're communicating how they feel. What is it that solutions they can do, if any, and then how are they just going to still balance out enjoying the time with the family that they have?
I like that. I think again, I do have to agree with you on that, on the whole idea of what having a Christmas spirit is, honestly. But um, I think the other thing about it too, like the boy said, he just wanted things to go back to the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to say, well, how was it? What were they doing previously? Were they actually interacting with each other? Were they always at each other's throats? Like what went wrong between the two families where they couldn't even spend time together? I mean, we understand the aunt, she's overbearing. I can understand for years the two sisters are like, please don't bring her. And she kind of tricks them into having her come along, right? But I do think that's, like you said, they get so wrapped up in their own thing that they're not even thinking outside of that, right? So for me, I think having the Christmas spirit, with a grandmother, like you said, talked about giving, but I also think it's just the fact of just appreciating what you have. So, like, of course, you have to be spending time with the family, but also just appreciating that you have this life, that you have people that love you, that you have a life to live. And I think a lot of people do lose that because we're so caught up in trying to keep up with others, to try and live this kind of persona and facade that is, hailed as like you making it. Because I mean, even then, like when they were talking about when the aunt and uncle were bringing in the gifts that were dropped off by Krampus, which I thought was hilarious. And they were like, wow, so rich white people get stuff delivered to them? They're like, well, they're Democrats, right? So like they were making these little plays on it, right? So I just thought it was like really interesting how they, again, even within them being, all people in the movie were white, which is also interesting because there was I didn't see any diversity in there. But the fact that even within the white people, that they were also kind of picking at each other with like Republican versus Democratic, which we know politics will always polarize people. It's bad.
I'm glad no black people were in this movie.
I mean, although I felt bad for the DHL guy, he was just trying to do his damn job. He was forced to have to deliver gifts up till Christmas, and then look at him, froze out there in the middle of nowhere. I felt bad for him, but I think the thing is like that Christmas spirit, I think it gets crushed. Honestly, I think it does get crushed. And that actually nicely leads into the next question that I have is, have you ever lost your Christmas spirit at any point in time? Uh-oh, you went mute. Hold on. Here we go. You muted yourself on that one.
Yeah, I muted myself. My bad. No, I was just, the Christmas spirit. The holidays, seeing the family, that's never going to go away. I just think more so the one thing that Krampus showed was really the commercialization, the capitalistic aspect of what Christmas really is. I mean, literally, you took a pagan holiday.
Right.
Like the Romans took the pagan holiday. I mean, it's like an amalgamation of colonizers trying to keep a certain aspect to keep the people that they colonize happy to some certain point so that they don't rebel. I mean, really bottom line. And I think Christmas is a holiday that what the pagans were doing with this, which was not called Christmas at the time, but this was something that, again, the colonizer wants to be a part of, but again, they had to deal with their own cultural aspect and their own religious aspects that will or will not allow them to do it. But what Krampus really was showing was like, there is no one-on-one type of like, oh, I love the family and hang out. It's like people fighting over toys that go on sale because they half off, and really like getting tased and beating each other down just to say, I got you this gift. But it was like, for what? I mean, and let's not front. Like, the only reason why it's not like that this year is because of COVID.
That's the only reason. Have you ever had an opportunity, or not an opportunity, but you ever had a situation where you lost your Christmas spirit?
No, I mean, I guess I don't call it Christmas spirit. I just call it hanging out with the family. Anything that allows black folks to hang out with the family, I'm good. So
you've never had a moment ever? No. Nice. I like that.
I mean, because I'm going there to eat. Like, I'm going there to eat, drink, and talk with the family. I mean, the presents and all that stuff. That's something that consumer capitalism wants you to continue to consume. So I never really bought into it, and that's where I got the first literally couple of minutes of Krampus was really just focusing on that. Like, what is this holiday really about? And at least from the first couple of minutes, it was just about consumerism. And then you had Mike's character, the son, was just like, I just want to hang out with the family. And it really wasn't even Christmas. The Christmas spirit is like, I just want to have a traditional thing. I want us to continue our traditions as we do and have that loving nurturing aspect of the family that we are lacking, because again, everybody's so busy doing their individual thing instead of just saying, hey, this is going to be the time where we get to just hang out, especially even people taking calls on Christmas time. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, now here's my thing. Have I ever lost my Christmas spirit? I would say the older you get, especially when more and more responsibility starts to pile up onto your plate, I can see that by the end of year, you might check out a little bit, right? Like you're like, you know what? It's been a long year. I've been beaten down all year. I've had challenges. And I will say, I can see how that can happen. And I will say that I do get pretty tired around this time of year. But I really, and of course, you're like you said, gift giving is consumerism. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I might feed into it because I really do like getting people gifts. Reason being is because it's like for that small little piece in time, that person is being seen, especially if you get them a gift that they really wanted or something that's really going to help them with a hobby or something along those lines. But you get right, you get for that split second, you get to see that joy for that little bit of moment in time where they're like, someone actually listened to me, someone thought of me, and someone was willing to spend their hard-earned money on me. And that to me, I think is just something I really enjoy. So yes, I do continue to buy things and feed into capitalism and consumerism and all that. But I just think for me, I just really like making people feel happy. Like that is something I think in this day and age, it's very, very fleeting. A lot of people we're stuck with bills. I mean, like with the student loan thing around, they're not even going to extend it. And how many millions of Americans have debt, right? From going to college, right? Right. This is what I'm getting at, right? And it's like, so you've got this going on. The pandemic is not letting up. You've got new mutants that are coming up every time. Flu now is supposedly having a new rise in mutations, which is just really throwing things for a loop. So it's all the things that are going on top of, being stuck in a house, having to go back to a mask mandate, all these things, people having health issues, right? People having to worry about, can I still get the surgery that I need because of the pandemic? Can I still get my chemo treatments that you need for the during this time of the pandemic? So it's a lot that's going on. So I think the older that I get, I can see how it can be hard to kind of maintain that, right? Because of the added responsibilities that you have. But I strive to, every year when it comes to birthdays and when it comes to these type of holidays, to try and make sure that people can experience a little bit of joy, just a little.
Well, I got nothing against showing some joy. Again, it's what you just said is like something practical or something that somebody needs. And I think one of the things that this movie Krampus was showing, just again, is a very short, a few minutes, maybe two at the most, of this thing that we see over and over again. I mean, like we see it all the time. People lined up outside to get the TV that's
iPhone.
It's only $300 or $400, all that stuff. And it's just at the end of the day, I mean, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like what are we doing? Because it's just, it can go way down there, but I'm gonna stop at that. Go ahead.
No, I know. And I think honestly, I get where you're going with that. I mean, it's a lot when you think about it. And I thought that they did a really great job of kind of, like I said in the beginning, highlighting how crazy it gets. Because that's also just like when, like what they're doing right now with the PS5s and Xbox, right? Like people are buying them in large numbers and then scalping them. I mean, like that's right. It gets to that point, right? You got kids talking about, I can't even get it for my kid. Get people saying that they can't get it for the kids. I'm like,
you don't need it then. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I want me a PS5. I'm mad that I can't get one. Okay, but
you can pay that rack, that $1,500 for.
No, I ain't doing that, man. No,
exactly. So it's not ridiculous. Because again, it's back to the point of needs versus wants. Just how you was talking about it. So, anyway, let's move on. We can talk about that for a whole nother hour.
Oh, I like it. But so here's my thing. So again, Krampus had different helpers, right? He had the elves, he had the animals, the stuffed animal, the stuffed toys. He had the gingerbread men. Like, who was your favorite helper?
Oh no. I forgot to put my thing off. My bad, Suds.
No worries. I was like, oh, he's getting a call. And you just talked about the father having a call during Christmas, and you getting a call during the show.
Exactly. I forgot to put it on the Do Not Disturb. I got here early on time and forgot to put the Do Not Disturb.
Oh, dang.
Who was my favorite Krampus helper? It's definitely got to be the gingerbread man for real, because the gingerbread man were holding it down. Like they was some violent cookies. I like the elves and the way the elves looked. I liked I liked all the toys that turned like to just monsters and all, but like the gingerbread men were like hands down, it was hilarious. I mean, you gotta love them. Like they literally were like the smallest thing, but they would cause the most damage. Like it was a setup. Like with the gingerbread men, it was a definite setup.
I mean, they were working in pairs. They tricked you. They knew how to play off of the fact that people were hungry or just like eating nonstop. And I think they did that with the little boy, which I thought was hilarious.
Yep.
When they yanked him up the damn chimney, I was like, "That's great. That was beautiful." But I think my favorite helper was someone who really we didn't even get a chance to really see him. It was when they were out in a snowstorm and it was what was crawling underneath the snow.
Yeah.
That to me, I was like, that was my favorite because you couldn't see them. They were fast. And clearly they had teeth because the one uncle who got bit on the leg with it, I was like, oh, that's some pretty nasty bites. I wish it had shown what that creature looked like because that would be pretty interesting. I'm thinking, I do think they probably would have had a mouth similar to the other creature that was in the Jack in the Box thing because that one had his mouth open like this. That was kind of creepy. But I think that was, the clown that was weird. That was weird. But I think that was my favorite because that one there was just, you didn't know where it was coming from. I mean, at least you could shoot it, quote unquote. But
or shoot at it. Yeah.
Shoot, right. I was gonna say shoot at it because you don't even know if you hit the bad boy. That was also a trip there too. So I don't know. I think the helpers were pretty cool, but I don't think they did enough with the elves though, because the elves looked cool, but they didn't do enough with them. Like we don't know if they're like crazy like the gingerbread man or like what they do. They were just out there kind of. And then the other thing too, who made the snowman? That's what I want to know. Did the elves make the snowman? Because like they were always lining up on the front yard. I'm like, well, who's making those? Because they were pretty creepy, and they were also making them look like each family member, which I thought was pretty. That was a pretty good one.
Exactly.
And so, you talked a little bit about this, right? With Krampus talking about just how we have our society as a capitalist nation. Like, do you think he would be busy this upcoming Christmas? Like, do you think he would be like doling out a lot of like, hey, here's your first class ticket down to my hellhole? Or what do you think?
I think Krampus does that every year. I mean, if we're talking about, if we're gonna be honest, if we're gonna be honest, it's just. I had this conversation actually at work about one of the coworkers was like. He was feeling about talking about COVID because in New York they're having a surge of the Omicron, the Omicron variant, and I just told him I was like, we don't care. And when I say we, I mean the people like to literally have Pfizer and Moderna holding the patent or the intellectual property so that other countries that are places that Western people who have quote unquote disposable income go to, and they won't release the patent so that people can make people in whatever country or nation, however you want to call it, are at to make their own because they have the intelligence to do so. They don't do it because and the coworker said it's about money. I was like, well, then that means you don't care because if you're literally going to say we want everybody on our side to feel all right. We're gonna get everybody on our side vaccinated, but just because you get vaccinated, you can be the carrier for the mutation that's mutating in your body from your trip, just like the European diplomats who came over there and spread whatever other mutation. And it's just like the thing is, Krampus has never left. I mean the spirit of vengeance or revenge or whatever it is that Grandma said, Omi, shout out Omi. It's like that. It's not stopping. I mean, I don't think it ever stops. And I think that not we, because I hate using the word we, but I think that people look at it like, oh, this is the time that I'm going to get that homeless person some food or some money or whatever the case may be. But it's like, that's still not fixing the root cause issue. What's the root cause? And like, I think COVID has shown so many people that they just turn a blind eye to it because they just want to get out the house. They just want to get out the United States or get out wherever place that they're at and go somewhere else because they want to feel this freedom. But reality is like, if you it's not just that you vaccinate the world. It's like, if you don't really take the science into play and say, hey, what is it that we're doing and to make sure that everybody is everybody is safe, everybody is healthy, then what are we really doing? And COVID has really just showed us how we really are. So I think Krampus would be just going through every place, just like swish, just chopping heads off and everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. I was thinking like he would probably be like, man, business has never been better. Like I feel like he really would have cleaned up shop, to be completely honest with you. Like I feel like this would have been one of those situations where he really just like, I guess people I think just after a while just stop caring about just their fellow person. They stop caring about their family. I mean, we are really pushing this narrative of it's only think of yourself. And this is something I think we've been pushing very heavily on. And I think, like you said, people would like to think that they would do something, but here's an opportunity for you to do stuff, to call, to vote, to go and support, to donate. And people are like, nah. Some people do. And I think some people get that wake up call and they do kind of make the switch. But most people, if you gave them the option of either helping someone else or getting themselves further ahead, like if you help this person, you don't lose anything, but you help elevate this other person, or do you want to get ahead? A lot of people will probably choose getting ahead. So I think Krampus would have been, like I said, cleaning up shop. He would have been like,
but it's a top behavior. So it's like, for that conversation to happen at work while I'm literally having Krampus on in the in the background and trying to do this training, and to hear my coworkers say it's not selfish. It's not that it's not that people don't care. It's just about money. I was like, then you don't care. Like, I mean, like we're trying to separate capitalism.
Splitting hairs.
We're trying to separate capitalism like it's on this pedestal. And I didn't even want to go down the rabbit hole with my coworker of like, the reason why the United States is even quote unquote the United States is because of capitalism, because of free labor, that no one cared what happened to that free labor. If you died, I just replace you. Or
you were basically a commodity.
I'll make you a breeding, I'll make you a breeding ground where you just breed for me.
Right.
And like we just really don't like people don't like to deal with the reality of things. And it's not always black and white. There's gray, but it just shows to me like Krampus would be having a great time. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know Krampus.
He would take probably all of us out. Not probably, he would take all of us out. Period.
I think honestly a good number of us. I think a lot of people would probably be kind of shocked that he would even come up to him, because they'd be like, "Wait a minute, what you mean?" And I think that would be kind of interesting if, like, I wish they would have. They kind of hinted at it a little bit in the movie as to like why he was coming for some of them, but for some of these guys, I'm like, well, like the little boy, I was like, come on now, like I get why, but like, dang, he was the only one that was really trying to hold out hope. But so I think the biggest thing here, because we've talked about just us as a society, just how crappy the family was. But I think because we're talking about the Christmas spirit, so we don't have Krampus come for us for Christmas next week. What are you looking forward to the most for this Christmas? Like, I mean, I know you talked about family, but what else are you really looking forward to?
Yeah, hopefully I can give my my present of like just being left alone for a little bit and play video games. play video games.
Ooh, nice.
And really just be in my zone for a couple of hours. Nothing too much. I think really probably for my daughter I'm not big on presents because she got more toys than we know what to do with. And I want to get rid of, like, if not all of them, majority of them. But just that whole idea of like just being surprised, back to your point, when a child is surprised what happens. So yeah, when she opens up her gift, well, she's already saw one of the gifts already, so that was already too late.
So how did she end up seeing the gift though?
Oh no, it was because we were moving some stuff around, and then she was in the garage and was like, "Oh yeah."
She's like, well, "What's this?" You're like,
"Yeah." Yep, but go ahead. So just on you. I'm gonna put this on.
Oh, no worries. I was just gonna say, I think for me, the biggest thing is, like I said, this year has been a tough one. With a lot of things that have been going on, just with the pandemic, personally trying to do, get stuff going with work. So I think for me, just getting the time off. I think, like you said, being able to play some video games. There are a few that I want to finish up. There's some books that I want to finish reading. There's definitely a bunch of movies, like the new Spider-Man movie that's out now. There's a new Witcher series that has just dropped. There's a few other things that are dropping as well that I'm like really excited to watch. And I haven't even watched like movies like the Eternals because I didn't have the time to do it. So I'm really looking forward to like watching on that. So there's tons of movies that I want to catch up on, spending time with my folks. I'm an only child, so I love spending time with my folks. We have a really great relationship. So it's going to be nice to be spending time with them, watching movies.
Shout out to the one kids only. Shout out to the one kids only.
I'm telling you, people think that being an only child makes you, kind of lack in life. But I don't think so. You learn a couple different things being an only child. You learn how to be by yourself and how to entertain yourself. And two, if you really wanted to make some friends, you had to learn how to talk to people. So I feel like we're probably the most well-rounded people you've ever met. Now, of course, I like to throw it on us that we need all the attention, but I'm like, not always. I don't need all the attention all the time, but some attention is nice. But I think those are things I'm really looking forward to. But like you said, it's mostly family and just being able to just sit. I think that's the biggest thing. Like our society is always like constantly moving, constantly on our phones, constantly getting notifications and stuff, right? But just to be able to sit and not have to think and not do anything, God, I love those days. I just really want to just chill and I just want to read. There's like 15 or so books that I got that I need to read through, and I know I can get through them in 2 weeks, but I'm just a big nerd, man. I'm gonna read, play video games.
You said 15 books you can get through in 2 weeks. I'll tell you, it take me 2 months out here. It would just maybe 1 or 2 out here. I read slow and take a lot of notes.
See me, I read fast. Like I will sometimes read like 5 books at the same time, and people are like, "Hey, how are you able to read all those books and not get the stories confused?" I'm like, "Well, they're always in different topics. I never get them confused." But I love reading. Reading was my biggest thing when I was a kid. So I was like that kid that my folks would give presents for, and they were like, "Well, what do you want for Christmas?" I was like, "More books." And so they would literally be able to buy me books. They would buy me other stuff too, but it was always like books was an easy win. Easy. And I even tell people this now. The easiest thing, if you ever want to get me something, give me like a gift card to like Barnes and Nobles or get me a book that I've talked about. And it's like easy peasy.
We know how to please Suds.
It's easy. That or a video game. That's all I say. It's like, give me those 2 things and I will be happy. Absolutely happy. So, but I think that's what I'm really looking forward to for Christmas, honestly. I mean, I really can't believe it's up so soon. Like it seems like it was like a long drawn out, but now we're a week out. I'm like really shocked that we're only a week out. It feels like it doesn't feel like the normal Christmas. Like, do you feel that way? Because I don't know.
Get ready for COVID 2022. That's all I got.
Don't say that. Come on, man. There was a report. There was a report that came out talking about we won't get out of this until 2023.
Whatever. It's whatever the government that's not listening to the people. That's these companies who are not sending out the patents so people can make their own version of it for their people. Like that's reality. Like this is all. Yeah. The way that they approached this was like a perfect time for them to clean house and do it exactly what they want to do. So. COVID 2022, here we come.
Oh, come on, man. Don't be putting it out there. They tell you the secret.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, holiday season.
No, they tell you you're supposed to put out positive energies. I'm gonna put out ending this next year.
Out here. Come on.
Screw that realistic juice. I'm tired of it.
Humanity, the certain people in humanity, but us as a whole, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We want to be, again, and this is just our species trait. That we want to be, we don't want to necessarily have chaos or what we perceive as chaos because we want to be in our comfortable bunkers, and that's just not reality. It never has been and never will be. And hey, happy holidays.
You know what? That's just cruel. I'm hoping we just end because I'm tired of it.
Perfect way to end with Krampus on the happy holidays.
I know, but you just had to go with. See, you gonna have Krampus coming for you. Why?
Because he's gonna be like, "That's a real one right there." He's telling.
No, he gonna come for you and be like, "Where's your Christmas spirit at?" No,
I'm gonna be like, exactly where you left it.
Where the horns are at? Where your Christmas spirit? But I think honestly, though, I think this movie, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It is a different type of Christmas movie, rated R, like I said. So there are some scenes that might freak out some people a little bit. But I do think overall it's a different take on Christmas. So you definitely should check it out if you want something that's not the cutesy Christmas type of movie that you're going for, or something that's tied up into a love story. But next week is the actual Christmas week.
Come on, can I pull it out? Can I do it?
Go ahead and pull it out. Let me give you the full screen. You
gotta get me on the full screen.
I gotta get you on the full screen. There you go. Boom, 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 boom.
Definitely about to be like fire already. You already know what this is. This is Claus. You know what I mean? Shout out to who's the dude who wrote this? I don't even know. What's his name? Grant Morrison. That's crazy. Grant Morrison wrote this Claus, and he got a version too, which I was gonna get, but I wasn't really sure if I should get it yet because I'm gonna read this one because I got like. The Lost Children of Andromeda, I mean, come on, you know, 2050 Z got to finish that up. So
Gotta finish that one.
this definitely going to be an easy read. You know what I mean?
Oh
like
my
this
God, it's quick. It's
a lot
short. It's very
of
short.
pictures. Like, come
Well,
on, man.
look at the artwork. I mean, this is the thing that gets me. Like, this is supposedly supposed to be a story about how Santa Claus got started. It takes place during the time of medieval periods, and Claus really comes off like it gives you feelings of like Berserk or like a Witcher. Like he's a lead character who's probably, you know, he's scruffy. He's kind of, you know, probably going to be on the quiet side of things, but really looking to kind of help out the smaller, you know, the underdogs and stuff like that. But I do think it's going to be a really cool read. I read a little bit of it before the show. I'm really excited to talk about it. But again, like you said, Grant Morrison, like that there tells you the type of quality that's going to be coming out of it. So really excited for this. We're going to talk about volume 1, how they set the stage about Claus. I think he's really going to come off as a true fighter. He's not going to come off as a pretty boy or a fat jovial man who's like, oh, look, we give you kids the gifts. He's like really fighting toe to toe with creatures. So I'm really excited for that one. But I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm hoping, you know, our fellow Mr. Refine will be able to join us.
Shout out, Mr. Refine, man. We got nothing but love for you. You already know what's up.
I know. I miss his full beard and his.
You know what I mean? I'm trying,
but you know, I gotta say, but I do find it funny that he wasn't on here today. But you and I actually aligned on a lot of stuff today. Typically, me and you were like, well, opposite ends, but we really aligned on this one today.
I just enjoy Krampus being for 100% Krampus. No leeway. No quarters given. It's like
None.
I take it all. Shout out to Krampus holding it down. Favorite character. Favorite character of the whole movie.
So far, I had to say he was probably, like you said, my favorite. I think he was cool. I wish we could have actually seen what he looks like, because typically what he looks like is kind of like a goat, because you can see a little bit of his eyes get the horizontal.
The Santa Claus, he had the white man face with the goat eyes. Like, come on,
did.
Like, that was like perfect. I was a goat / human / some type of monster.
I know, walking on hind legs. He was pretty tall, though. I mean, he looked to be at least 7-8 feet.
He was definitely hunched over a lot of the time, so you couldn't tell. But I just wanted him to stand up one time too, which I think he probably did on Krampus 2, 3, and 4. There's a lot of Krampus.
I think there are, and they do get. I think they probably go downhill from there. This one was like the one that actually kind of stayed on topic a little bit, but I gotta say, I'm really excited for next week for us to get back in and talk about Christmas.
Claus right here, right?
Claus.
Right before Christmas. Come on,
right? We're going back into the hand drawn, you know, anime graphic novel style media again. So I'm really excited for that.
It's a beautiful thing.
I'm telling you, and it's full color. I love that. I love that. So remember, you guys, check out Krampus if you want something different. Make sure you keep your Christmas spirit and that you think about family and you keep that hope alive. And if you want to check out us again, check us out next week when we talk about Claus. But at the same time, remember to hit the notification button, subscribe to us on all the channels that we are on: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We even got Twitch going on. We're on Twitter. Come on. Follow us, support us. Make sure you continue to push this narrative that Black people can be nerds too. And you know, you got anything you want to plug in there, D? Before we
shout out to all the Black creators who came before us, who were before them, all the ancestors who even got us to this point where we can get a group of 3 people together to talk about this. And shout out to all the people who we interviewed up until this point, and I'll talk about it more during the following week after Christmas. But at least for my month, I'm always promote Black creators. Shout out to TJ, Joyce Andrews, which I can't wait to get him back on. Shout out to Onaji and Odina and Concrete Comics, which I think was a fire name. Shout out to Jason and Lost Children of Andromeda. I mean, and the list goes on. I'm really
going. Long list.
Yeah, I really got a lot of surprises. Or not surprises. I really got a lot of people who I'm going to reach out to multiple times and line them up for my month and then the month after, because I want to show a lot of love to a lot of the podcasters who were doing this way before we were. Fantastic Frankie. Shout out to Fantastic Frankie. That's a real one right there. Love Fantastic Frankie. The ramen. I think it's the ramen podcast. There's so many. So. Be on the lookout for us. And again, I'm going to be, not just me, the team is going to come to a Comic-Con near you, but I just checked out next year, 2022, and I'm going to do my best to hit up all of the California Comic-Cons.
You're coming out my way.
Because they're not that far away, and they're on there are on days where I can just can come through and still bring my work laptop and still work at night.
You gotta be, see, but you're not keeping that Christmas spirit, man. You still bringing work to something that's
but I gotta do that because I gotta pay bills. You gotta pay bills and you gotta grow this. But you check us out. We're gonna be California, especially. We're gonna definitely be in.
So two of us are out there. We're out in Cali.
So we're gonna talk about that. You know, a lot of the Comic Cons here because I don't think they're very expensive. We're gonna definitely do some vendor booths, and I got some merch that I'm going to be working on. As some trial stuff that I want to show the team, but I still got to get it done.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure. But Sudz, I'm gonna let you. It's your month, so I'm gonna shut up now. I appreciate
you. No, that's all I got to say. I just want to say, like you said, we're going to be trying to do more things in person, of course, being safe, being COVID safe as much as possible. But we do want to at least get out there and get known to people. You know, like you said, we're starting out, we're really small, we're new, but I do think that we got something going on here. I think that we talk about some really cool stuff. We got some cool graphics. We bring on cool people. Yes. So I'm really looking forward to growing this next year. And like he said, 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about recap of this year and then kind of talking about looking forward, what do we want to do? So really looking forward to talking about that. Make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys tune in every Friday because we will always be here. But we will see you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you right before Christmas.
Yeah, let's get it going. Let's go.
Let's go.